Have you ever been loved in a way that left you changed forever? Not because someone wanted something from you, not because you earned it, but because they chose to love you exactly as you were. That's how Jesus loved. And when you truly see it, it will change the way you see God, yourself, and everyone around you. We live in a world where love often comes with conditions. Be good enough, act right, look right, and then you'll be accepted. But the love of Jesus turns that upside down. He loved the outcasts, the broken, the people others had given up on. And the same love he gave them is the love he offers you today. You might think you already know about love, but Jesus didn't just talk about it, he embodied it. His love wasn't weak or sentimental. It was fierce, costly, and unstoppable. It confronted injustice, forgave the unforgivable, and welcomed the unwanted. And the reason it matters for us today is simple. It's the kind of love we were made for, and the kind of love we're called to give. Look at the way he loved those who were overlooked. When others avoided lepers, Jesus touched them. That one act shattered both fear and stigma, reminding the world that love is greater than disease, rejection, or fear. When a woman caught in adultery was dragged before him to be condemned, he silenced her accusers with one sentence: "Let any one of you who is without sin be the first to throw a stone." Then he told her, "Neither do I condemn you. Go now and leave your life of sin." His love met her in the mess, but it didn't leave her there. It lifted her into a new life. Jesus loved by seeing people completely. He didn't just notice the good parts or the public image. He saw the wounds, the failures, the fears, and still loved without hesitation. Zacchaeus was a dishonest tax collector, despised by his community, but Jesus called him by name and said, "I must stay at your house today." That one meal changed Zacchaeus' heart so deeply that he gave away half his possessions to the poor and repaid everyone he had cheated. His love was also deeply personal. In a crowd, he noticed the woman who touched the edge of his garment, desperate to be healed. He could have let her slip away, healed but anonymous. Instead, he stopped, looked for her, and called her daughter. That single word restored more than her health. It restored her identity, and his love was sacrificial to the end. In the Garden of Gethsemane, knowing what awaited him, he still chose the path of the cross, not because we deserved it, but because his love was stronger than our sin. Hanging there, suffering, he still spoke words of love. "Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they are doing." The way Jesus loved wasn't theoretical. It was seen in how he sinned without judgment, touched without fear, and spoke truth without cruelty. It was love that acted, love that moved toward the hurting instead of away, love that refused to give up on anyone. And why does it matter? Because the love Jesus showed is the blueprint for how we're called to love today. Not with shallow words or fleeting emotions, but with a love that costs us something. A love that risks, that forgives, that keeps going when it's hard. His love changes us so we can become people who love like him. One of the most striking things about the way Jesus loved is how he crossed boundaries that people thought were unbreakable. In his time, cultural, social, and religious walls separated people. Jews from Samaritans, men from women in public discourse, the righteous from the sinners. Yet Jesus moved straight through those walls, as if they weren't there. When he met the Samaritan woman at the well, the odds were stacked against any meaningful conversation. She was a woman, a Samaritan, and living with a broken past. In the eyes of society, she was someone to avoid. But in the eyes of Jesus, she was someone to be seen, valued, and loved. He spoke with her, offered her living water, and revealed that he knew her whole story. And instead of shaming her, he gave her hope. That encounter didn't just change her, it transformed her whole village as she ran back to tell everyone about him. His love was not deterred by reputation. When a sinful woman entered the house of a Pharisee to anoint Jesus' feet with her tears, the room was thick with judgment. People whispered about her past, questioning why he would let her touch him. But Jesus defended her, saying she loved much because she had been forgiven much. His love wasn't afraid of scandal when it meant restoring dignity. Jesus also loved in a way that was deeply patient. The disciples often misunderstood him, argued about who was the greatest, and even fell asleep in his greatest hour of need. Yet he didn't cast them aside. He kept teaching, guiding, and forgiving. When Peter denied him 3 times, Jesus didn't shame him. After the resurrection, he cooked breakfast for Peter and asked 3 times, "Do you love me?" Each yes. From Peter became a moment of restoration, erasing each denial. Another hallmark of his love was that it always told the truth. Jesus never watered down reality to make people feel comfortable. When the rich young ruler came asking how to inherit eternal life, Jesus told him to sell his possessions and give to the poor. The man walked away sad, and Jesus let him. His love didn't manipulate, it respected free will, even when it hurt. True love values honesty over temporary comfort. He also showed love by noticing the unnoticed. In a crowd of thousands, he saw the hungry. In a busy city, he noticed a beggar calling out. In the chaos of the cross, he saw his mother and entrusted her care to John. Love like that pays attention. It slows down enough to really see people. His love was expressed in service. In the upper room the night before his crucifixion, he took a towel and washed his disciples' feet. This was a servant's job, but he did it willingly, saying, "I have set you an example that you should do as I have done for you." He wasn't just talking about love. He was showing that true love serves, even when you are the most important person in the room. And his love was fiercely protective. When his disciples tried to stop parents from bringing children to him, he became indignant and said, "Let the little children come to me, and do not hinder them." He made it clear that no one was too small or insignificant for his attention and care. The love of Jesus never stopped at words. It was always followed by action. It touched lepers, dined with outcasts, defended the shamed, fed the hungry, wept with the grieving, and forgave his enemies. And each time, his actions revealed the heart of God, a heart that refuses to give up on anyone, no matter how far they've wandered. That's why his love matters for us today. It's not just a historical example, it's a living call. The same spirit that empowered Jesus to love like that is available to us. If we truly follow him, his kind of love will reshape the way we speak, act, and see others. The love of Jesus was also profoundly courageous. It stood in the face of opposition, criticism, and even danger without losing compassion. In a world where love often retreats when it's costly, his love moved forward. He entered places others avoided, touched those considered untouchable, and spoke to people others had written off. Love like that isn't passive, it's bold. One of the most powerful examples is when he healed the man with a withered hand on the Sabbath. The religious leaders were watching closely, ready to accuse him of breaking the law. Jesus could have waited for another day to avoid controversy. Instead, he called the man forward, told him to stretch out his hand, and restored it completely. His love chose the person over the pressure to conform to man-made rules. Jesus also loved by weeping with those who wept. At Lazarus' tomb, even though he knew resurrection was moments away, he cried with Mary and the others mourning. That moment shows us something remarkable. Love doesn't rush to fix without first entering into the pain. It sits with the hurting, feels the weight with them, and then brings hope. His love also carried the power to restore identity. When he encountered the demon-possessed man in the region of the Gerasenes, the man was living among the tombs, chained and tormented. Everyone had given up on him, but Jesus saw someone worth saving. After driving out the demons, he sent the man home to tell others what God had done. In one encounter, the man went from outcast to messenger. That's what his love does. It turns the rejected into the redeemed. And his love was generous beyond calculation. When he fed the 5,000, it wasn't just enough for everyone to have a bite. It was enough for everyone to be satisfied, with baskets of leftovers. His love doesn't give the minimum, it overflows. He also loved by empowering others. He didn't just heal people, he sent his disciples out to do the same. He gave them authority, taught them how to serve, and trusted them to continue his work. True love isn't about holding on to control, it's about equipping others to flourish. Even his confrontations were rooted in love. When he called the Pharisees out for their hypocrisy, it wasn't to destroy them, it was to wake them up to the truth. Love sometimes has to be honest enough to challenge what's wrong, even when it risks rejection. The love of Jesus also had a global vision. He didn't just care for one group. He made it clear that his message was for all nations. From the Roman centurion whose servant he healed to the Syrophoenician woman whose daughter he freed from torment, his love crossed every border. This is why the Great Commission wasn't just a task. It was the natural outflow of a love that couldn't be contained in one place or culture. And in every moment, his love was consistent. It didn't fade when people doubted him, betrayed him, or walked away. At the Last Supper, he even washed the feet of Judas, knowing Judas would soon hand him over to be killed. That's a love beyond human limits, a love that serves even the one who will hurt you. Why does this matter? Because the way Jesus loved isn't just something to admire, it's something to receive and then to give. We're not called to love when it's easy or safe. We're called to love in the way he loved us, courageously, generously, truthfully, and without conditions. The love of Jesus didn't just transform individuals, it had the power to ripple through entire communities. When he touched one life, the change often spread far beyond that person. The Samaritan woman at the well is a perfect example. One honest, grace-filled conversation turned her from an outcast avoiding people to a bold witness telling her whole town about the Messiah. And because of her testimony, many in that town came to believe in him. That's the multiplying effect of his love. It doesn't stop with you, it moves through you to others. When he healed the leper who came back to thank him, the story didn't end with clean skin. That man's restored life would affect his family, his friends, and everyone who had once shunned him. Love doesn't just fix the visible problem, it restores the relationships and dignity that were lost along the way. Jesus also showed that love could unite people who were previously divided. His choice of disciples made no sense by human standards. A tax collector who had worked for Rome, and a zealot who hated Rome, fishermen from competing businesses, and men with vastly different personalities. Yet his love made them brothers. He didn't erase their differences. He gave them a shared purpose greater than their differences. His love had the power to change the spiritual climate of a place. In Capernaum, when a paralyzed man was lowered through a roof by his friends, Jesus first forgave his sins before healing his body. This act challenged the religious leaders and amazed the crowd. His love brought both truth and power, creating a moment no one could ignore. Even in acts that seemed small, his love left lasting marks. Inviting himself to Zacchaeus' home was more than a social visit. It restored a man's sense of worth and inspired radical generosity. After meeting Jesus, Zacchaeus vowed to repay everyone he had cheated and give half of his possessions to the poor. One meal changed the financial and relational landscape of an entire community. And his love wasn't limited by time or distance. The Roman centurion's servant was healed without Jesus even entering the house. That miracle not only blessed the centurion's family, but also stood as a testimony to everyone who heard about it. His love reaches beyond barriers, touching people he hasn't even met in person. His love was also deeply attentive to the overlooked. While crowds pressed in on him, Jesus noticed the woman who touched his garment in faith. He could have let her slip away healed, but unseen. Instead, he stopped, looked for her, and called her daughter. That public acknowledgement restored her to community and told everyone watching that she mattered to him. Jesus loved with intentionality. He went to places others avoided, spoke to people others ignored, and invested in relationships others thought were a waste of time. His love didn't depend on convenience, it moved with purpose. Why does this matter for us today? Because we live in a world that is fractured, divided, and desperate for reconciliation. The love of Jesus shows us it's possible to bridge divides, to restore the broken, and to bring people together under a shared hope. His love is not just a private comfort, it's a public force for change. The love of Jesus always moved toward the cross. Every word he spoke, every healing he performed, every act of compassion was building toward the greatest act of love the world would ever see. This wasn't love that stayed safe or distant. It was love that stepped into the very center of our brokenness and took it on himself. In the final days before his crucifixion, we see his love shining even in the smallest details. He washed his disciples' feet, including the feet of Judas, the one who would betray him. Think about that. He knew exactly what Judas was about to do, yet his love didn't exclude him from the act of service. That's a love that refuses to be dictated by the worthiness of the other person. It flows from the character of the one who loves. On the cross, his love was poured out in ways the world had never witnessed. As soldiers mocked him and crowds jeered, he prayed, "Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they are doing." Even in the midst of unimaginable pain, his heart was set on forgiveness. He wasn't focused on revenge or justice in the way the world sees it. He was focused on reconciliation. And his love didn't just look at the needs of the moment, it prepared for the future. While hanging there, he saw his mother and entrusted her care to the disciple John. In his final hours, he was still making sure the people he loved would be cared for after he was gone. His death wasn't the end of his love, it was the fullest expression of it. Laying down his life was not an accident or a defeat. It was a deliberate choice. Jesus himself said, "Greater love has no one than this, to lay down one's life for one's friends." But on the cross, he laid down his life not just for friends, but for enemies, for strangers, for all of us who had turned away from God. And then came the resurrection, the proof that his love is stronger than death. When he rose, his first actions were to seek out those who were grieving and afraid. He called Mary Magdalene by name. He walked with 2 disciples on the road to Emmaus, opening their eyes to hope again. He appeared to the disciples in the locked room, speaking peace over their fear. His love didn't just return, it came back with victory in its hands. That's why the love of Jesus matters so deeply for us today. It's not just a nice example from history, it's the same love that meets us where we are now. It's a love that can forgive the unforgivable, heal the deepest wounds, and give us courage to love others in the same way. When we receive his love, it changes us. We begin to see people differently. We start to notice the ones the world ignores. We find the strength to forgive those who've hurt us, and we realize that love is not just a feeling, it's a choice, a commitment, an action we take every day. The love of Jesus is not just something to admire from a distance, it is an invitation to step into it, be transformed by it, and then share it with the world. His love is not selective, not fragile, not bound by the limits we so often place on our own. It is patient, persistent, and personal. It meets you in the lowest valleys and lifts you to stand on solid ground. It sees your worst moments and still calls you worthy of being loved. Think about the way his love works. It doesn't simply overlook sin. It confronts it with grace and truth, offering forgiveness in a better way. It doesn't avoid pain. It enters into it with you, carrying the weight you can't bear. It doesn't just inspire, it empowers, because his love comes with his presence, his spirit living within you. And here is why it matters so much. The world is desperate for this kind of love. People are starving for connection that is real, compassion that doesn't run out, forgiveness that is complete. We can talk about faith all day long, but if we don't love like Jesus, we've missed the heart of the message. Loving like Jesus will stretch you. It will mean forgiving when you'd rather stay angry. It will mean serving when it costs you. It will mean seeing value in people the world dismisses. And it will mean doing it all without expecting anything in return, because that's how he loved you. But here's the beautiful thing. When you live in his love, you're never giving out of an empty place. You are drawing from a source that never runs dry. His love fills you, heals you, and flows through you in ways you could never manage on your own. And as you love others, you become part of his ongoing work in the world, bringing light into darkness, peace into chaos, and hope into despair. So the question is not whether his love is enough. It always is. The question is, will you receive it? And will you let it change how you love others? Because if you do, you won't just be following a set of rules. You'll be walking in the footsteps of the one who changed the world with love. If this message has stirred your heart, don't let it end here. Let it move you into action. Start by receiving his love fully, no matter your past. Then look around you. There's someone in your life right now who needs the kind of love only he can give through you. And as you take that step, stay connected with us here at Holy Path Insights. This is a place where we keep exploring who Jesus is, how he loves, and what it means to follow him every day. Subscribe, share this message, and join us on the journey. Together, we can live out the love of Jesus in a world that desperately needs to see it.